Hello, today we're going to be using EntityStream to load some LEI data from an LEI XML file from GLIF into the EntityStream product. First thing I need to do is create a data model which stores my LEI data. I'm going to import this from my XML file. XML file can be downloaded from the glif.org website. This one I'm choosing here is a small version of the file for the purpose of demonstration. I'm going to name my table glif. And I'm also going to specify a root node. Now, the root node is the record indicator inside the XML file that says that it's an XML, an LEI record. So I just click on import, and that's going to bring in the fields from that XML. I'm going to choose my identifier, my primary identifier, which is LEI, and I'm going to choose my label, which is my legal name. That's going to allow me to display the information better on the screen inside the product. Once I've imported my attributes from this file, you can review them. You can see that it's a very structured file. It's a tree structure in XML. And of course, you can see there are various different groups like registration and entity and other addresses. And other addresses might repeat multiple times. I can review each of my attributes in turn. I can set more appropriate display names for them, or I can just save that off and just take the defaults that EntityStream has created for me. Once I've created my data model, what I want to do is create a concept group. And my concept groups are things like address or name or registered company number within that data. So I'm going to create my first one here, which is called address. And then within my address concept group, I need to create a concept. And the concept will also be called address. The purpose of having a concept inside a concept group, you'll become more obvious later on as we look at company names. So now I've got my address concept. What I can do is I can map my address fields that I'm interested in from my GLIF source into my address concept. And clearly I'm going to look here for my first line of my address, my city, and probably my postcode. You can split this into separate sections. So within the address, you could have a first part of the address and a second part of the address if you felt that was the most important thing to do. I'm going to specify an address match type. So it's going to know how to treat the address fields as an address now. And I can also specify whether, what type of transformation I want to apply to that. So once I've created my address concept, what I can now do is I can go and create my second concept. Okay, my second concept is registered company number, and this is the business registry ID. Now, again, I might have a single concept within my concept group called registered company number again. And I'm going to assign my business registry entity identifier from my GLEIF source to that concept field. I can save that off and I can continue to create another concept group. All these concept groups are reusable across sources. So when we come to do the OFAC in a subsequent demonstration, you'll see that we can reuse these concepts multiple times. So I create a company search. Company search is a very narrow version of a company. So in this case, it's just going to represent a company name. I'm going to name it appropriately. I'm going to put search on the end there, just so as I know when I look at the data that I can see that it's my search field. And I'm going to assign my legal name to this particular concept for my GLIF. And finally, I'm just going to choose my type of field there, which is a company name. Notice we chose address earlier, which is company name for company names. The business registry ID, I just allowed it to default to a simple string. And finally, I'll create my last concept, which is my my concept group that I'm going to use for company name, which is for non-searching. And within that, I'm going to create two concepts, one which is the actual company name and a second one which is the country. What I want it to do is I want it to index the data based upon the company name information and the country information at the same time. And to specify here, because I'm going to use this concept in indexing, so I'm going to specify a minimum and maximum key width. And I'm going to assign my company name field, which is my legal name from the GLIF data. Now finally, I can add a second concept within my concept group, and this will be country. And again, I want to choose the appropriate match type, which will be a country. EntityStream knows what a country is and what a legal name is. So it applies thousands of rules that it has within the system to be able to determine the best match for that type of data. So we apply those types to the concepts and concept groups and not to the actual fields themselves. I save off my company name concept and concept group. And now I can go through and I can review to make sure all of my fields are mapped, and I'm happy with that. Finally, I'm going to create an index and a rule. So my first index I'm going to use is my my search index. So this is my match index. So I'm going to choose my company name concept group. I'm not going to allow this to be used for searching, only for matching. And because it already knows what that company name concept is, it knows the fields involved in it. You don't need to tell it any more than that fact. I'm going to create my search one now. And again, I'm going to assign a different concept, which is my search concept group to it. And this is only going to be used for searching and not for matching. And that's all we really need to do for the indexing of the product. And that, again, that index will work across all different data sources. So we don't have to worry about if we bring in new data later on, we don't have to change those concepts. So finally, I'm going to create a couple of match rules. These again based upon my concept groups we defined earlier. So my first match rule is going to use my company search, which remember is just my company name. And I'm going to add my registered company number to that. So that's going to be a combination of those two fields. Now I want to apply accept and reject weightings to that. Now in this case, I'm going to choose one for both of those settings on both of my different concepts. If I chose a different weighting compared to each other, like 2 for the name and 1 for the registered company number, then obviously it would apply a different percentage to it. I can choose my accept and my review score. So that will tell me how which of my records will become tasks and which of my matches will become automated, so automatically linked or automatically matched within the system. So I've created my first match rule. I can create a second match rule. Very similar process. I'm just going to choose my company search concept group again, but this time I'm going to match it up with, instead of matching up with the company number, I'm going to match it up with my address information. So that will be a combination of those two fields. I can set a different acceptance score for this rule, slightly different in terms of the accept and review levels. And again, I can choose my accept and my reject weighting within that. So in this case, I'm going to choose 1 and 1 for my company search. I'm going to choose a slightly different accept 0.8 and 0.2 for my address. So if I get a match on the name and the address, it's going to use whatever the ratio is to determine whether it's a good percentage or not. I can save that off. And everything's done. So we've created a data model, we've created a concept model, and we've created some match rules. Just before I leave this demonstration, I'm going to show you, I mentioned we do have a lot of rules already in the system, so you don't have to set these things up. So if I want to go and understand, how countries are treated, so I've got Japan here, and you can see it's got all the different encodings for Japan, or the ISO codings in there. If I want to go and search for terms like limited, I can see how that might be used in a company name. I can see limited and LTD is equivalent in a rule. I can also see it's ignored in a key, but that's only so as it can find candidates when in a rule. What it will do is it will use the limited and LTD as comparable. It will say they're very similar. And if I look at the term LTD, I can see also I've got these concepts are not equivalent in rule. So if I see an LTD and a PLC, publicly limited company, I can treat that to be different. So that shows us how we can go and set up EntityStream to load an LEI data structure. If you go back to our website and go to the next link, you'll see we're going to load some LEI data in the next demonstration, and also some OFAC data alongside that. So please visit us back at www.entitystream.com. Thanks for listening.